There we go.
Welcome to Invisible Condition. It is not all in your head. This is your host, Jeff Pearson, and we want everyone with an invisible condition to know that you have a voice, you have a community, and you are never alone.
Oh, there we go.
Here on Invisible Condition, we know that life can be tough. And we also know that there is always hope. There is...
Thank you.
There is always hope. Even when you're new at hosting a show.
We thought we'd change it up today because in case you weren't, in case you haven't been watching for a while, this is the first show of season 7. So how cool is that? So I thought it would be fun for Catherine to take the reins for a second. And here we are, baby. We're at season 7. Welcome to season 7, everybody. Thank you for sticking with us and being with us and being amazing viewers and inviting your friends and helping us, our audience, grow every single month we've been on the air. We love you. We appreciate you. And we're so glad you're here. And so I wanted Catherine to, for those of you who have been watching for a while, you may or may not remember our very first episode way back on April 4th, 2023, which is coming up really quick, by the way. We're almost at 3 years. That one, the first episode ever, Catherine interviewed me so that you could hey, here's your host. Here's who's going to be in front of the camera all the time interviewing people. So here you go, everybody. And so I thought, why not? Let's do it again. So for those of you who are watching on one of these amazing platforms, whoops, I didn't hit the right thing. If you're watching one of these amazing, if you're here and you're watching through Facebook, you're watching through YouTube, I know those two. Others maybe too, but for sure, Facebook and YouTube. If you're watching on one of those platforms, please comment if you have a question, if something Catherine or I say that you go, wait a second, that's not what I heard, or you want to ask a question about it, or you have a comment or whatever, that's the perfect place to do it. That's what social media is for, right? So if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, throw a comment in there. We'd love to hear from you. And okay, that's enough of that. Yeah, what are we going to talk about today, host?
Right,
what
right.
You got?
The reason I launched this show is the reason I started this show. I'm not saying it right.
That's all good.
The reason I was the first one to speak during this episode is because I will be interviewing Jeff again, like we did 3 years ago. So it's kind of an anniversary get to know the host reprise.
Yeah.
And so we are going to be diving into who is Jeff and what is he all about? Why did he start the show? Why are we continuing the show? What do we love? What are our goals and dreams and hopes for the future of the show? All those types of things.
And we're going to fit it all into an hour.
All into
the time we have here today.
50 whatever minutes.
There you go.
Left.
That's right. Here we go. Let's do it. So,
Jeff.
Yes.
Remind the audience, how did we start the show? Where did it come from? And where was that launch point?
That launch point, it came from an introduction that I was graced with back in, I want to say early 2023 or even late 2022, where somebody at a conference we were both at, we were actually promoting our nonprofit, the nonprofit side of the show, which is called Hydro with Hope, which we'll talk about a little later. We were at a conference promoting our nonprofit, and somebody at that conference introduced us to an amazing young woman named Julianne Meyer, who we absolutely love. She is the network president of Ariane TV, and now, at the time, she was the network president of the channel, and that was it. Now she's also the co-CEO of E360 TV, which is awesome. So we love Julianne. She's amazing. And so that is how that all started, and Julianne said, "Oh, well, nice to meet you, Jeff. What the heck are we talking about? Why are we being introduced? Why? You know?" And I said, "Well, somebody told me to tell you my story." I didn't really think I had much of a story. You know, like a lot of guests we've had on the show, so many of them are like, "Look, I just feel all by myself, and I want to feel not all by myself. I don't even think I have a story." But as you know, over the years, we have drawn out some amazing stories out of some incredible, brave, amazing people during this time. So I was in your shoes, man. I didn't think I had a story either. She encouraged me otherwise and said, "Yes, you do. Let's figure this out." And so we launched the show.
So the most interesting part of your story that caught her attention was
I was born with a condition called hydrocephalus, which I'll spare you the spelling. Don't worry about looking it up. It's ridiculously common. It is a very common condition that affects hundreds of thousands of babies every single year. In fact, if you have 1,000 friends on Facebook, chances are one of them's got hydrocephalus. It affects 1 out of every 800 people born in the U.S. right now. And so I was born with hydrocephalus. They found it at my 2-week checkup. They, you know, when you have a baby, they do like how long is the baby and how much does the baby weigh, and then they do a measurement right here around the noggin. And at the 2-week checkup, they do all those same measurements to make sure the baby's tracking, they're growing the right way, all that stuff. And that head measurement was just a little bit too big for the person's liking that was doing the measurements. And they said, "You know what, let's do a CAT scan and see." And they found hydrocephalus. They found there was a blockage in the brain that was not allowing the fluid that your brain produces every day to flow out of the skull and down the spinal column to reabsorb, which it has to do because there's only so much room up here. And so they diagnosed it as hydrocephalus, and they did brain surgery at 2 weeks old, installed a shunt, which entails drilling a hole in the skull back here, and putting a little tube in there to access that fluid that's not draining, attaching a shunt to it, which is right here, which is kind of like a fancy word for a pump. And then there's a cord on the end of the shunt that kind of runs down here and reroutes that fluid to somewhere else to reabsorb in the body. Kind of like an artificial drain pipe, you know, that wasn't built in at birth. So that was my introduction to the world. And I've had 6 more subsequent surgeries, brain surgeries, to replace that shunt, because it is a thing with those of us with hydrocephalus. Sometimes you got to replace it because it malfunctions, and you got to replace it because if you don't replace it, the fluid has nowhere to go. So that's why I have this story, and that's why we are here, and that's why this show is what it is, because it started with Julianne recognizing that story. And so
yeah. Julianne was like, 7 brain surgeries? What?
That's not
I'm
typical.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think for a lot of people, they, like you said, don't always realize that their story is interesting enough to be on, to be highlighted, to be spotlighted. Yeah. And so, but when you talk about 7 brain surgeries, it might have been, common or familiar, like it was his experience, right? He didn't know anything different. However, one thing that we have learned along our journey is that what is ordinary for us can be extraordinary for somebody else. So if you're watching and you feel like, well, I just, my story is kind of ordinary, it might be extraordinary for somebody else. So
I've heard so many extraordinary stories over the years, man.
Right?
Oh my gosh. I have no joke. I have probably interviewed and talked to somewhere between 500 and 600 prospective guests to be guests on this show. And oh my Lord, like not all of them are ready, right? So so we sometimes have to say, you know what, let's do a little, maybe later, let's talk later. And, but for the ones that have been on the show, oh my gosh, like the stories have been incredible from common stuff that everybody's heard of, like, traumatic brain injuries and fibromyalgia and diabetes and schizophrenia and bipolar and lupus and POTS and endometriosis. I mean, we could we could just fill the whole hour with names of conditions. We're not going to, don't worry. But these are all such common conditions. And so it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? So people feel like it's common, so they don't have a story, but they also feel by themselves sometimes. They're like, this is invisible, so nobody sees it. Nobody sees me because this is invisible. And so they say, well, I must not have a story because I'm invisible. That's just not true. That's just not the case.
Right.
Everybody has a story.
So with your extraordinary story that Julianne discovered, we decided to turn that into invisible condition.
Yes.
So why did we not call it the hydrocephalus hour?
2 reasons.
Because that's your condition.
Right. Yeah, no, I kind of joke with people about that because, first of all, hydrocephalus is a bear of a word to spell. I didn't even know. Apparently, I had the spelling wrong for decades. I was way off, and I live with it. So, for the record, it's HYDROCEPHALUS. So there you go. For all the spelling nerds out there, that's how you spell it.
Don't worry, there won't be a quiz later.
There's not a test. Don't worry. So I knew that would not be as catchy, and I also knew that as common as hydrocephalus is, it's very common. It's 1 out of every 800 babies born in the U.S. is born with it, and anybody can acquire it at any time. So there's a lot of us running around with it. The thing is, variety is king, right? So I kind of figured that after about 5 or 6 episodes about another story about another guy with hydrocephalus, another girl with hydrocephalus, I didn't think you guys would watch much longer than that. Said, we got to get some variety up in here. So we brainstormed a little bit, talked with Julianne, talked with each other, and said, all right, well, let's see what we can come up with. And I almost called it, you're going to, don't hate me, don't send hate mail.
We'll pull back the curtain a little.
I almost, and I was brainstorming with people at the job that I worked at the time, and I was like, well, I'm thinking about calling it "It's All in Your Head." And I thought, how clever is that, right? Because mine's, there's literally a thing in my head. So I thought, it's all in your head. And then a great friend of mine that I was working with at the time said, Amy, she said, I don't think people are going to like that. That might actually minimize people's experience, like reinforce what people out there are telling them, that this doesn't exist. It's all in your head, right? Because there's so many people out there with invisible, like chronic fatigue syndrome and lupus and POTS and all these things that like people can't pinpoint right away. And so they start to think like it's all in their head. So she's like, please don't call it that. So that would be terrible. So we said, yeah, you're right. So a little more brainstorming, a little more prayer, a little more consideration. We said, okay, maybe the tagline could be, it's not all in your head. A little validation there. And we just call it invisible condition, because I don't like the word disease. I hate the word disease. This is not a disease. Hydrocephalus is not a disease. Diabetes is not a disease. Fibromyalgia, schizophrenia, these are not diseases. These are conditions. These are conditions that you are living within. And so I wanted to call it that. So we landed on invisible condition. And then we called the tagline, it's not all in your head. So there you go. So
and we had lovely mugs made.
And we had lovely mugs made. So why not?
Right? Because we can. Why not? Awesome.
Got to drink coffee out of something during the show. So.
Right. So it's invisible. It's not a disease. It's a condition. It just happens to be something that you're living with, a challenge that has cropped up in your life for whatever reason. And so let's talk a little bit about some of those favorite guests that you've had. Maybe some guests that you're like, that one stood out. Oh my goodness. I can't believe I fill in the blank. Got to interview that person or heard that story or. Yeah.
Man.
Share a few highlights from them.
There's so many of them. There was somebody in season 2. Man, I should have looked these up. In season 2, I think it was season 2. His name was Dave Nordell. and he's a veteran. Thank you for your service, Dave. We love you. He was a veteran. I believe it was Army that he was for a long time, maybe 20 years or more in the Army, and his story was that the main story he told during the show that had the most impact on me was had to do with something he called moral injury. Moral injury. Now, it's very similar to PTSD, right? Post-traumatic stress disorder. That is very common. Everybody's heard of PTSD. Moral injury takes it a step further. That is it's a little bit different. So moral injury happens in other situations. So his situation was that he was in the Middle East on a mission, and he was deployed over there, and he was at a hospital, and he had several hundred people that it was at this 200 or 300 people that were patients at this hospital, and they got word that the enemy was coming to bomb the hospital, because that's what enemies do. They kill people, and so they were coming to bomb the hospital. So they said, okay, well, we got to move. We got to get the heck out of here, find another location, and bring all these amazing people that are healing in our hospital to another location so they can survive. So they found another location, said, okay, let's move. And then they said, whoops, okay, but we have about a dozen people on life support here. Life support is supported by things that require electricity. And so if you have to move and you don't have a generator, which they didn't, you have to unplug them, which kills them. And so he ended up, that was the dilemma. That was okay, we've got like 300 people at this hospital. About a dozen of them are on life support. What do we do? Well, for the greater good, he moved them. He had to move them. So they ended up ending the life of a few people just to be able to move the rest of the several hundred people to the new hospital. And so everything got set up. Everything was, they got everything set up at the new location. And then they got word that they never actually bombed that first location in the first place. So they ended up not having to move. They didn't actually have to move it. But at the time, that was the intel that they had. So they had to. And so what do you do with that? Because as a doctor, as a medical professional, the Hippocratic Oath starts right off with, first and foremost, do no harm. And he did harm. How do you wrestle with that? So he called that moral injury. He's written a book. He's an amazing world-class international speaker. I mean, it was an honor to have him on the show. I can't wait to talk to him and have him again. So keep your eyes out for him again. He would be amazing to have back on the show. It's been almost 3 years since he's been on the show. I'd love an update. So if you're watching, Dave, I'm coming. I'm coming for your calendar. We're going to get on the show again. So that was an amazing guest. He was one that stands out for sure.
That's amazing. And it's, like you said, it's such an honor to be able to, shed light to some of these challenges that people are dealing with, whether it's, like that, it sounds like a very emotional challenge, right? And then there's some that have very physical challenges.
Yes. Right. There was a guest named Leland Holgate Sr.
I remember this story.
Love this guy.
I'm excited to hear it.
He is amazing. He is also a veteran. Thank you for your service. He was also a veteran and left the Army. And one day he was having a blast with a bunch of friends water skiing on a lake somewhere. I don't remember where, but that's not important. He was water skiing and he got in a water skiing accident during that trip, which rendered him a quadriplegic. He broke a couple vertebrae. He broke his neck, and he was quadriplegic. And so, the medical community was like, "Well, here's your wheelchair. Good luck." I mean, I'm not trying to throw the medical community under the bus. They did what they could. They addressed what they can, and they basically, ultimately, though, said, here you go. This is your life now. Here's your wheelchair. And he said, well, no, I don't like that idea. So
okay.
It's not okay. So he found some teachings of somebody named Joe Dispenza, if you've ever heard of Joe Dispenza, and probably others, but I think he's the one that he mentioned on air. And he talking about targeted breath work. And so he started following down this path of targeted breath work. And he started doing it like consistently every day, all day. And he started to feel his shoulders again. And then he started to feel his elbows again. And then he could wiggle his fingers. And after 2+ years of this targeted breath work, hard work, targeted breath work as a quadriplegic, he was totally normal. He could walk and talk and move around and run. And he was totally back from quadriplegia. Unbelievable, right? Like, that story is unbelievable. Gets better. A few years later.
But wait, there's
more. A few years later, he was in a car accident that rendered him a paraplegic, paralyzed him from the waist down. Right? Like, what are the freaking odds? But he said, I've done it before. Here we go again. And he brought himself back from paraplegia. So twice he's been paralyzed, and twice he's gotten out of it through targeted breath work. He has an organization called Willful Warrior. You can find him anywhere online. Just Google Willful Warrior. You can't miss it. He's in, 60+ countries around the world. He actually participated in a virtual retreat we did like later that year. He's amazing. So watch out for him too, because I really want to bring him back on the show too. But he is one of my favorite human beings on the planet. So that was another really good one.
Yeah. So as you can see, like invisible condition, we try and span, anywhere from physical issues to emotional, mental issues. And there are one other guest that I'm thinking of, Jeff, is somebody that you have started to have on regularly. Somebody, multiple, who her specialty is helping people to recover from both issues, emotional and physical, and anywhere on that spectrum.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Tell us a little about Michelle.
Yes, we love Michelle. Michelle and I actually, I'm going to first, before I talk about her, I'm going to actually play her commercial, because we have been, if you've been watching for a while, you will recognize this because we play it almost every show, and we play it especially on the shows that she is appearing on. So I'll see you in 30 seconds. Here's her little teaser. Yay! We love Michelle, and Chronic Illness Solution is incredible. And Michelle and I actually met almost 2.5 years ago now. We were both speaking at a conference here in Colorado Springs called the Healing Conference. And she was a speaker. I was a speaker. I'd never heard of her before, never met her. She got up, told her story. Good Lord, it was impactful. And so her story in a nutshell. And if you want to hear more, the best thing to do is go to season 2, episode 52. 52, the last episode of season 2. That's where I had her on the show for the first time, and she got to tell her story about why she does what she does with Chronic Illness Solution. It will blow you back in your chair. It's insane. So she was born with several autoimmune conditions, several anaphylactic shock EpiPen-worthy allergies that ruled her life for years when she was younger. And she actually spent several years bedridden because of these. And it was miserable. And so she said, all right, look, I got to do some research. I can't live like this. So she started digging in and started getting educated and started realizing that, okay, well, if I do this and this and this and this and this. So at one point she was, taking a fistful of, supplements and vitamins and going to the chiropractor every week and going to this, practitioner every week and going to the functional medicine person every week. And, if I drink this shake and take these pills and take these supplements and do this adjustment and do this, then I feel okay. Is that really healthy? No, that's almost as bad as just popping a pharmaceutical because it doesn't treat the root cause. We all agree that pharmaceuticals don't treat the root cause, right? Let's just get that out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
Pharmaceuticals treat symptoms, not root causes. And so she realized that, did a little more research, and found the method that she uses now. She was able to, within about 3 or 4 months, eliminate all symptoms of everything and get off everything she was taking, she doesn't do any of it anymore. She is 100% fully healthy. And now, for the last 16 years, she's been helping others get there as well. I've been through her program. Even my MRIs look different. I want that to sink in for a second. It affects your whole body. Even my MRIs look different after working with her. I've never felt better in my entire life. I have never been healthier. And her program is incredible. So I kind of want to, I'm going to find her QR code and put it up here. You won't be able to see her logo, but I want you to see her QR code that you just saw on that ad. I'm going to put it up here.
So one of Michelle's success stories that has stuck with me is that she actually helped somebody who had HIV or had the virus, like diagnosed with HIV, and at that time it was like, well, sorry, that's kind of what they got from the medical community. But they worked with Michelle, and now that person has no sign of HIV in their body.
0. Came to her with 3 months to live, by the way.
Ooh,
Diagnosis of 3 months to live. Get your stuff in order because you're out. And now, years later, 0 sign of HIV in their body. Fibromyalgia, diabetes. I mean, there's so many. If you are living with something, it doesn't have to be permanent.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be permanent.
And I think multiple of these stories, Leland Holgate's story about, coming back from paraplegia and quadriplegia, HIV being healed. I think this is a good lead-in for, our philosophy of, the medical community and the alternative community. And
so scan the QR code.
Oh.
I can't, it's hard to point. I don't want to poke you in the eye. It's in the corner of the screen. You see it. All right. It's going away now. And it was on the commercial. So if you missed it, rewind the episode and you can scan it. There you go. Or go to our YouTube channel or Facebook or E360 and watch a past episode of hers. Her story is season 2, episode 52. That's the first one you can watch. And then anything after that you see, her beautiful smiling face on the promo graphic, they're all amazing. She's incredible. So, yes, what were we going to, you say that again. What were we going to do?
We want to let's share our philosophy on medical community, conventional Western medicine versus alternative.
Yes.
I think there are a lot of people who see them as entirely separate and that they can never coexist. But I also believe that there is a growing number of people who see the value of both. Both, have a place for helping with certain things that are going on.
Yes, and actually, we're going to come back to that in a second because I want to shout out to a couple of sponsors of ours because they're awesome. And so, first one is this one. This is Healthy Home, and I tell you what, man. In case you've been watching for a while, in case you haven't figured it out yet, I'm kind of lean towards less invasive and slowly move towards more invasive to solve any health problem. I've been that way for decades. And so I'm not saying there's not a place for surgery. I'm just saying let's tackle everything else first and see if we can solve it. So So this organization, we had an amazing guest on a few weeks ago, Giselle and her husband, and they kind of introduced us to this concept. And so I can't get enough of this. We dove in, man. Um, they have so many cool wellness resources that just help support your body's ability to do what it already knows how to do and wants to do. There's a story that she tells on her episode that of a testimonial of somebody that she's worked with this healthy home. They said, "Well, I'll try your stuff for a little bit and see if it works." Well, it didn't feel like it worked. After a few weeks, they're like, "Well, nothing happened." But they
My knee still hurts.
My knee I think it was like a joint thing that his knee was like arthritic or something. It's like, my knee still hurts. It didn't work. Well, they went to the doctor. Well, unbeknownst to Giselle, this guy had been diagnosed with something with his heart, I think, or
I think liver.
Or was it liver? I think it was a liver thing. And so the numbers were off the charts, and they were going to have to do something drastic with the doctor and all this stuff. They went back to the doctor for a regular checkup, and the liver was perfect. So the body, with the help of the things that Healthy Home offers, went after the liver problem first, because that was the most urgent. And so his knee still hurt, but it was like, but my liver's healthy. Then it started working on the knees. So this is how smart how smart the body is, you know. So that's what this stuff helps with. It helps your body do what it already knows how to do and wants to do. So if you are even a little bit intrigued, call a number. Very nice young lady will pick up and answer all your questions, and then you can go to the website on the QR code and check it out. It is so cool. So also, one last thing I want to talk to you about is our nonprofit, which is Hydro with Hope, which I told you we were going to talk about in a minute. So Hydro with Hope is there to basically help people that are living and frankly dealing with, because this is a crazy condition, dealing with hydrocephalus. That is the condition that I've lived with my entire life. Diagnosed at 2 weeks old. Maybe we'll tell more of that story later. But we were at a doctor's. We were at a follow-up after a brain surgery I had in 2018, and we were sitting in the office waiting for the doctor to come in, because that's what you do. It's a waiting room, so you get to wait. And we were waiting for the doctor to come in, and we heard this conversation. I heard this conversation in the next room, and it was because the walls are nice and thin in those offices. I didn't hear the words, but I heard the tone, and it was distraught. And so all I wanted to do was run next door, hug him, and tell them it was going to be okay, answer their questions. But HIPAA doesn't like that. They don't like it when you just burst into people's rooms and doctors' offices. So I didn't. I stayed put. But on the way home in 2018, we kind of started talking about it. And then in 2022, we launched it. And so 2022, we launched Hydro with Hope. This is a donation link for Hydro with Hope. You can donate once. Thank you very much. You can donate monthly. Thank you very much. We appreciate all of it, any of it, a little bit, a lot, whatever. What you will allow us to do with those donations are two main things. One is to get this journal into the hands of people that need it. This is a journal that we created not long after launching the nonprofit, that walks people through that experience of, whoa, I got to have what kind of surgery again? And kind of walks them through that hospital visit, going home. What notes do I need to take so that when I go to the next doctor visit, I don't sit there with nothing to say? It's all contained in here. And so the more funding we have, the more people I can get that journal into the hands of people that need it. And the more places we can go and speak and tell stories of hope, tell our story, and let people know that brain surgery is not the end. It's not the end. It's not the end of the world. You can still have an amazing life with hydrocephalus. So, all right. Okay. That's enough. Thank you, sponsors. Now we're done. What were we talking about?
Well, so you said that something you just said, even after brain surgery, life can still be amazing. Now, a lot of times after brain surgery, there are side effects in a way, from that brain surgery, because anytime you go around messing with the brain, even if you're anytime you're messing with the brain,
Yeah.
there are almost always, especially as you get a little bit past.
I was in my 30s and 40s with those last four, is what she's trying to say. I'm older now, is what she's trying to say. I'm not a kid anymore.
Right? Yeah. When he had surgery at 18, he bounced back really quickly, but
it's like nothing.
Surgery, late 30s, early 40s, it's a different story. And so there's absolutely been side effects. There's been some, some mental, emotional side effects. There's been some physical side effects. And so how do we go about those? So we can start by going back to the medical community and say, hey, can you help us with this? I'm having migraines every single day for the better part of a year. And if the medical community says to you, sorry, guess you're just going to have to live with headaches, then
which is what they said, by the way.
That may or may not have happened.
She's trying to be delicate about it, but the follow-up we had after the 2 brain surgeries I had to have back to back within 24 hours of each other in 2014, we went back to the neurosurgeon. And after those surgeries were done, I started having migraines. They turned into nonstop 24/7 migraine little headaches that lasted for better part of a year. When we went back to the neurosurgeon, we thought, well, he's the last one that was in there poking around. Why? He would have answers, right? Right? He would have answers. Nope. He looked at us across his desk and with a straight face told me, I'll never forget these words. He said, geez, I'm sorry. I guess you're just going to have to live with headaches. And after I held her back from jumping across the desk at this guy, not literally, but it looked like she might actually do that. We got out of there and said, okay, well, so the medical community has that list of solutions, 0. Unless I wanted to take a pain med. Like I probably could have said, hey, doc, just give me a pain med.
Let's do a bunch of chemicals and Botox and...
Or just give me a pain med and I'll lay on the couch for the rest of my life. I got too much to do. We got too much we got too many. God's got us on more of a mission than that. So, and I knew that in 2014. I said, look, no, that's not going to work. So we started looking and we ended up we tried everything. We went and found all kinds of stuff that made it worse, stuff that kind of helped, but then it got worse again. Temporary relief. What ended up working was chiropractic neurologist that we found right here in Colorado Springs where we live. And it was just 10 minutes down the road. Thank you, Jesus. He was real close. And so he was able to minimize the effects of those migraines. He didn't get rid of them, but he would brought down the severity. Like it wasn't quite as intense, and the frequency of them, like every once in a while I would get relief, and but they would come back. Right. So I couldn't really go too far because I remember multiple times I'd be walking around in a store or something, and then one would hit out of nowhere and I'd be on the ground. So I was like, this is not working. We got to keep looking. We ended up finding something called neurofeedback. Neurofeedback, you can look it up, go to oakslabs.com, OCHS labs.com. You can read all about it. It's amazing. If you're dealing with migraines or something like that, it has a locator map where you can find somebody in your area that might be able to help you. That place saved my bacon, man. It gave me my life back. After a month of going to that treatment, the migraines were gone, and they've never come back in that way. Like I still have headaches, but not like that. And so after a month, just a month, they were gone. And that was 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago. Yeah. And so I like to say that the medical community kept me alive. The alternative community gave me my life back. And that has been consistent over all 4 brain surgeries in the last few years. So,
yeah. So all of that is to help you all understand our philosophy on, medical community versus alternative. Because while we're pro medical, like if you need a surgery, go get the surgery. If you need,
Yeah.
if you need some of that, most likely acute, medical, quick, help me fix this type, treatment, do it,
Yeah.
But if you're dealing with side effects or maybe lifestyle or issues or,
Well,
don't be afraid to seek out alternative options because they're there and they work. They are legitimate. Most of them.
Well, so yes. So a lot of these treatments that are out there, like acupuncture and chiropractic and cranial sacral massage and vagus nerve stimulation and like all these, there's so many. I only know a few, and they helped me, and so I was like, yeah, let's do it. There's so many out there. They've been around for thousands of years.
Mm-hmm.
They've worked for thousands of years. It's only been about the last 100 that the conventional medical model came on the scene with a lot more advertising money and said, here we are, use us instead. That's the alternative stuff. So you can't chiropractic your way out of brain surgery for hydrocephalus. So let's get that straight. I am pro hospital. I am pro doctor, pro surgeon, pro medication if you need it temporarily, because some things you need surgery for. Everything else, man, go outside the medical world and look first. If you don't find it, go to the medical world. Great. They've helped me tremendously. All I'm saying is it might be less invasive and it might have less effect on your body long term if you don't rush to pharmaceuticals and the medical world right away first, and if you have questions about that, please put a comment in here, and I am happy to share with you whatever you would like to know about whatever has helped me. We've only given you a little bit. There's been so much. We don't have time to go over all of it. There's been a ton, and I am more than happy to share. I can even give you my calendar link and get on a call with you. I am that serious about it. I love this stuff.
We are not afraid of questions. We're not afraid of.
We are an open book. We have no problem. I mean, if you've been watching, I share my story all the time. I am not shy about anything with this. So bring it on. So
we welcome the conversations.
100%.
We welcome, if there's somebody out there who has tried multiple different things. I've tried this and it hasn't worked. I've tried this and it hasn't worked. We totally understand.
Been there.
We'd love to come alongside you and see,
help you.
See if there are additional resources, additional ideas or thoughts that maybe you haven't thought of yet, that we could help guide you with and get you some relief for the stuff that is not all in your head.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So we've got about 10 minutes left. Host.
Yep.
What you got?
I would love to take the next few minutes and talk about your vision for the future. Like where, obviously we've been doing this for 3 years. We are, not stopping anytime soon.
Nope.
And so, where do you see the future of this show going? Who it's for, who it's meant to help.
Yeah.
All those things.
So
future.
I tried to stop this. I tried to not record this anymore because I'm launching a new show here in a couple of months and it's called 6 Degrees of Impact. And I thought, well, maybe that's my next chapter. Maybe that's the next thing. And we'll just, all 6 seasons or whatever of Invisible Conditions, they'll still be there. People can go watch them, but every time I would mention it with somebody on a call or on a preliminary call with a potential guest or something, they're like, no. This, you got to continue to. So, and I thought about it like a co-host, like a stand, like maybe I don't have to host it all the time, maybe somebody else, but I'm like, no, that doesn't fit either. this is our gig, man.
Everybody loves your smiling face.
Well, so I said, okay, this is it, man. Long haul. I'm going to be doing this until God tells me not to. So for the future, man, I want to use this as a tool to be able to help others in a couple different ways. One is with our nonprofit, to be able to bring awareness to Hydro with Hope and to be able to get around the country and get around the world and speak, because people have told me that our story is powerful. And when you have a powerful story, people need to hear it. And so I would love to find more speaking opportunities. I would love to go on many more TV shows, many more podcasts to spread this message of hope and resilience that we have experienced, and just bring people hope and bring them help. If you need help, I want to help you. I want to help you find some of those resources. So that is probably the biggest thing, and speaking is a big part of that. So if there's anybody out there that has an organization that you think would benefit from a story like this of hope, of not giving up and getting to the solution, man, I'd love to meet you. Catherine is an amazing speaker in her own right, and so she has an amazing story as the caregiver side of things, because I couldn't have done this, any of it by myself. So she is amazing and has an amazing story as well. So that is what I see. God has shown me for the future of this, and anything can change. But for now, that is where we're going, and we've got the new show, Victories of Impact, coming up. But that is a totally different show that we'll talk about later. But as far as Invisible Condition goes, that is where we're going.
I think one of the most powerful things too is to be able to bring you all resources right onto this show. Mm-hmm. Right? You have resources like Michelle, like Leland, who does the breath work, like one guest that we haven't talked about yet that is memorable for me is they were focused on kids care. Connective kids. There it is.
Connective kids. Yeah, they're in Texas. Yeah, that was amazing.
They specifically help kids with issues that they have. In fact, they helped one little boy that we know of with hydrocephalus.
He's actually on the website. If you go to hydrowithhope.com and you see a cute little dude in a bathrobe sitting on a sit, that's the kid. That's David. That's the guy. So, yep, he's incredible.
But to be able to bring you resources right onto this show, you don't have to go anywhere else. You can just keep watching right here. And so many other guests have brought so many other resources as well. Apps and books and journals and
programs.
Books.
And,
programs
all
and courses. And it's all so amazing, and I hope you all have found it so helpful.
And even Michelle, I mean, I didn't even realize this was going to be a thing when we started out, but she is actually using episodes from the show. If you've watched any recent ones, I never know by the way, I never know what she's going to do when we get to the studio, and then she says, I think it's going to be about this. I go, okay. And so she has brought me through some exercises, for the purposes of helping you and others to get through things that her program can address if you go through her program with her. Mm-hmm. And she's using these episodes as places to send people that are working with her. And so that's another value of this. And I didn't see that coming. How cool is that? So I get to help her grow her business. She gets to help us grow this show, and it's just been amazing. So, yeah.
Awesome. So we have a few more minutes.
Yeah.
Do you have any other thoughts that you would like to leave the audience with?
Sure.
I'm reminded actually of how we finished our very first episode. I wish we'd got that clip, but anyway. You don't have to go watch.
Oh, you should go watch. Go back and watch season 1, episode 1, and fast forward to watch the very beginning. And then if you want to watch the whole episode, watch the whole episode. But the ending is my favorite because it is the definition of a phrase that a good friend, Gary Barnes, who's actually been on the show twice, who has an amazing story in his own right. He says, launch and adjust. And that's what we've done with this show. Mm-hmm. Good friend Craig Tomanini is also, I've had an ad of his on the show over the years. He's a technology coach, and he says it this way. He says 76%, ship it. It doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, life doesn't have to be perfect to be amazing. So that's how we've kind of treated this show. And so that first episode is painful evidence of it. So,
but it's like we've grown.
It's like we've grown. Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Thankfully. Thank you for helping me grow, because I couldn't have done this without you ever. So this is, yeah. Hey.
You're welcome.
Yeah, bring it on. So yeah, please go back and watch. I hesitate to say it, but I don't, because you gotta. There's some amazing stories in every season. I mean, we've had so many cool guests, and so yes, go back and watch that first episode. Please just promise me when you do that that if you don't watch any of the rest of it, watch the very beginning, the first couple of minutes, first few minutes of the intro and everything. And then watch the last 2 minutes, and as we cut out for the show, you can thank me later. It'll make you. If it doesn't make you laugh,
it's a good comedy break.
Oh my Lord, it's great. It makes me laugh just thinking about it. So, yeah. So there you go, everybody. This has been amazing, Catherine. Thank you.
Sorry. Any other?
No. I think
closing.
I think we're good. I think I'm just, you know what? Actually, I'm gonna read something out of here. This is out of the My Hydro Warrior story.
Out of where?
Out of our.
You'll show it to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I did already.
He's holding the journal.
I'm holding the journal, and there's a section in here called About Jeff, because who is this guy and why is he writing this book and what qualifies him to do this? So we got a little blurb in there, and at the end of the blurb. And by the way, my mom and dad wrote the foreword. So if you don't buy it for anything else, buy it and read the foreword, because my parents are amazing writers. Thanks, Mom and Dad. Appreciate it. Love you. So there's a little blurb at the bottom at the end here, and it says, having lived with hydrocephalus for over 45 years, so 49 years now. This was been. For having lived with hydrocephalus for over 45 years, I can say 3 things with 100% certainty. 1, God is faithful all the time. I literally have all period, the period, time period. So number 2, God is in control, and that's a good thing. And number 3, life does not have to be perfect to be amazing. Mm-hmm. So those of you that are out there living with invisible conditions, those of you out there living with loved ones that are going through this crazy life with a condition they didn't plan for, they didn't ask for, they didn't plan on, man, there's still hope. There's still life. You can do it. If you need help, that's what we're here for. So reach out, comment, however you want to reach us. Thank you for 6 amazing seasons.
And now you have a reminder of who your host is. Ta-da!
There you go. Thank you, Catherine, for the reminder. Thank you for bringing us back and doing this and having a blast. So our next episode, our second episode of season 7, will be on Friday, the 3rd of April. Mm-hmm. So April 3rd is our next episode, and we'll have an amazing guest to kick that episode off, and can't wait to see you there. So have an amazing day, and I'm going to find the right thing to bring us out, and then we'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.